Kermit Gosnell is one of the most prolific serial killers in US history. In 2013, he was convicted of the first-degree murders of 3 babies delivered alive. A grand jury believed that he killed many more. His so-called family planning clinic was a house of horrors, with bloodstains on furniture and baby body parts kept in jars and freezers. Gosnell was once seen as a pillar of the West Philadelphia community. This was all a lie. In reality, he was a failed physician, never certified as an OB/GYN. Despite the state of Pennsylvania receiving dozens of complaints about his clinic, no state inspector ever visited until an FBI raid in 2010, because he was believed to be illegally selling prescription drugs. Adrienne Moton worked alongside Gosnell, assisting him with late-term abortions. She was eventually charged with, and pled guilty to, the third-degree murder of baby D, which saw her spend 2.5 years in jail. And she joins me today. Adrienne, thank you for joining us on SPUCTV. Now, I came across you, Adrienne, online through your work with Abby Johnson's And Then There Were None, which, for the benefit of our viewers, is a pro-life group which helps people escape the abortion industry and transition into a new life and a new career. Can you tell us, therefore, about your previous career and some of the things that you did and encountered?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. My previous career, I worked at an abortion clinic under the direction of the former Dr. Kermit Gosnell. Funny thing is, I started as a volunteer. I was asked to come in because he was like an uncle to me, because I did meet them back in 95. I went to school with their niece. That's how I met them. So over time, because it's a lot, but over time, I was asked if I like to come in and volunteer doing the tools, make a couple of dollars, and I immediately said yes, because I got married and I moved to South Carolina, but it was an abusive marriage. So I left 10 months and I didn't have anything, no money, single mom, 1 kid. So yes, I needed the money. So that's how I ended up at the clinic. Again, it was to volunteer for the instruments. And, it wasn't a big thing to me, because I'm saying to myself, okay, wow, I can do instruments. It seems interesting. And also, women that are coming in there, for whatever it was, um, I can be there for them, stuff like that. But the volunteering turned into 3 years. So I ended up wearing many hats. I did the tools. I went from doing the tools to being asked to help with the ultrasound during the procedure. But the way it was presented to me was, because he called me niece, he would say, niece, we have more clients coming in, which means more money. He said, you can help me in the room. And I didn't feel comfortable with that because of what was coming out of the room. Again, I was doing the tools. He says, it's not that bad. Why don't you just sit in and see? I said, okay, no problem. So I ended up doing, sitting in, and it wasn't a big thing to me because it was a first trimester. So it wasn't bad. And then my thinking was, okay, if I'm in here with the woman, I can really support her, hold her hand, be there for her, let her know it's going to be okay, because I've been in their shoes. I've been on that same table. So it went from the tools to the ultrasound. And then after a while, I was trained to give anesthesia. And after that, I became the anesthesia girl, help out through the procedure, help them get dressed once the procedure was done, take them to the recovery room. And then I was back, to the tools all over again. So I wore many hats with no credentials.
Yeah. So, Adrienne, just to clarify, then, would you say you became completely involved in the abortions, in the procedures?
Completely, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I've also seen you say elsewhere, Adrienne, that in your eyes, Kermit Gosnell and his wife Pearl could do no wrong. Would you say that's perhaps why you blocked the now obvious reality of what was going on?
Well, before I ended up in the clinic, again, I met them when I was in high school with their niece, and at the time I did have problems at home, but after my first procedure by Kermit Gosnell, it felt like they took me in. Every weekend we would go out. I would have dinner with them, shopping, malls, clothes, shoes. It got to a point I ended up living with them. They helped me through my prom, graduation. Um, when my daughter was born, they got me to the hospital. They were there. They were like family. He called me niece. So, they couldn't do any wrong. And I also felt that I owed them because they've done so much for me. So, yeah, at the time, they couldn't do no wrong. But what changed that, and it hurts. I remember when I finally did leave that place, which was in October 2008. And I remember explaining to Gosnell that I wanted to tell him why, but he avoided my phone call for the whole 2 weeks, which is fine. But the hurtful part was when I came to visit one last time just to say hi to everybody. And when I left, he told one of the workers that, well, yeah, she just came to throw her new job in our faces. And I never mentioned the job. So that did hurt my feelings.
Yeah.
And, at that point, I was just glad that I walked away.
Adrienne, I think what's interesting about the Kermit Gosnell case is that, as I mentioned in the intro, Kermit Gosnell is one of the most prolific serial killers in US history. But when I was talking to my colleagues about the case, some of them didn't know about it. And that's understandable because, I have vague memories of it going on from 2010 to 2013. There'd be the odd media mention. But I think the fact is that the media underreported. And I think it's fairly obvious why. When I was reading about the case, I saw that the media benches at the trial for Gosnell were largely empty up until the point at which the defence took the stand in defence of Kermit Gosnell. The media just didn't want to touch it. Why do you think that is, Adrienne?
That's interesting. The only thing I can think of as far as the media not being there, because it was a hot topic, and it was just that whole situation. It was just crazy. A lot of protecting needed to be had. Um, a lot of people, because a lot of people didn't know what was going on in that clinic, apparently, and a lot of people were angry. So it was more like anybody could have got hurt during that trial. So I believe the security, I thought that maybe they felt it was wise to not have media. I really don't know the behind the scenes with that situation.
Yeah. I would say, kind of answering my own question, that I would say that it's because whenever the media report on abortion, it's usually from a sympathetic viewpoint. But of course, it was Kermit Gosnell who was committing illegal abortions, illegal in the state of Pennsylvania. And it brought the issue home to them, precisely what abortion is. And that's one of the things I remember Gosnell was saying at the time. He was what his defense was, well, hang on, what did you expect me to do? These women came to me expecting me to kill their babies, and that's what I did. So he, as evil a man as he is, he was making a good point there. That's what happens in legal abortion clinics in the state of Pennsylvania, in the rest of America, in this country. Similarly brutal procedures take place. It's just that he was doing it later than he should have been in the eyes of the law. So it's telling, for me, it's telling as to why the media weren't there.
Not only that, William, I was there for 3 years. And it got to a point where women were making it as a sign, a form of birth control. One situation that stood out to me to the point I had to say something to the woman. I looked at a chart because she was called to the back, and I looked at a chart and we were on number 18. 18 abortions. 18. And the fact that, you know, Gosnell still went through with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all I can say is wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, Adrienne, I don't want to bring up too much for the past because, of course, thank God, by the grace of God, you've very much undergone a conversion. But there is one final thing I want to touch upon about that. The grand jury reported fetal body parts kept in the freezer and in jars, sometimes in the freezer alongside other employees' lunches. Can you testify to this?
I can testify to the babies being stored in the freezer. I can testify to they found little jars with feet in them in a solution. The solution was called formaldehyde. That was supposed to be for rape kit purposes, but because we've gotten a lot of underage girls that came in, but those jars were never removed. They were never touched. They were, no one never came to, press charges or anything. So they were there. But as far as our food being next to fetuses or babies in the freezer, that is totally false.
Okay.
Totally false.
Okay. Now, Adrienne, of course, as you say, you're 18 years removed from the situation, from being around Kermit Gosnell. But what would you say your thoughts are about him today?
Well, I do have mixed emotions. I tell people, yes, he did what he did, but at the same time, people, they didn't say about the good that he did for people. He worked with a lot of people that didn't have medical insurance, and I cannot sit here and just say it was all bad. I can't say that about anybody. I can't just do that. So at this point, I just pray that I think about him often. I do. And I really do pray that he found Christ, that he accepted him in his heart, and that he's in whatever situation that he's in as far as prison. I pray that he is at peace and he's making the best out of his situation.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a good attitude to have. Definitely pray for his conversion, most definitely. Now, Adrienne, moving on to more positive thoughts, can you tell us about the work of And Then There Were None, which the ministry that you're involved with, and how they've helped you personally?
Wow. Well, And Then There Were None. There's so much with And Then There Were None. So, and then I had to write this down because we do so much. So, and then there were people say it's an organization. I like to say a ministry because it is Christ-centered. Amen. They do provide support, financial support, resources, basically helping women to leave and, introduce them to Christ, the love of Christ. A lot of healing take place. We have healing retreats. There are 3 phases. One is very intense. That's for a newcomer, person that's coming out the clinic. Very intense. We want them to feel that they're not alone. And because it's very hard to just talk to a regular girlfriend or whoever about doing that type of work. Um, the counseling is amazing. And as far as the financial assistance, basically help the former worker transition into a better new career, better life. Um, I I'm stuck on the counseling because mentally, it's a mental battle. Um, and the fact that we come together, we're there for each other. We still go through the memories, the flashbacks, the pictures, the reminders. So we're there to lift each other up because the enemy, I always tell people, our minds is the enemy's playground. He's going to play. He's going to play. So we have to learn, we're learning and teaching new ones that are coming in how to fight that. And we fight with prayer. We have Bible study. It's amazing. We're amazing.
That sounds brilliant. And Adrienne,
Yeah.
you mentioned help in a financial sense. Now, of course, that's one thing that a lot of our viewers might not know, is that may be the very reason that gets people like yourself into the abortion industry in the first place, is because maybe you're in financial dire straits. And then, as Kermit Gosnell did with you, encourages you by taking you out shopping at the weekend, that sort of thing. And I've heard reports from other ladies who have benefited from And Then There Were None, that Planned Parenthood, on the legal side of things when it comes to abortion in America, will encourage new starters with $100 cash bonuses at the end of a month or something like that.
Yeah.
They're very clever at doing that. I mean, it's fundamentally evil, but you can see how that could keep some people in that industry longer than they would want to be there.
Yes, it's very hard. It's very hard. I was a single mom, and I had I did whatever I had to do to take care of my daughter. And I felt like they were doing me a favor with I felt they were helping me because the money was good. It was good.
And that's another thing I found from the grand jury report in Gosnell's case, is that there was a lot of cash found in his clinic, wasn't there? Because he was making a lot of money, sometimes
Yeah.
doing abortions well into the early hours.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, Adrienne, I understand that And Then There Were None have an upcoming film called Unthinkable, which will soon be out. You're involved in this, I believe. Can you tell us a bit about this?
Oh, yes, unthinkable. It's very I'll say this. I'm expecting a lot of gasp. I'm expecting tears. I'm expecting, as far as the outcome, it's going to be a lot of tears. It's going to be a lot of gasping. It's going to be a lot, and I pray that those that are, that think abortion is safe and is, women's care, I pray that it really, I don't like to use the word prick the heart, like prick, but, I just wanted to touch them, you know, and get them to realize and see that this is a serious thing. Anyone could watch a video. Anyone could watch a video on how an abortion is performed. But when you're in it, it's a whole different story. So I'm praying that this movie, I believe this movie is going to shake this world. That I do know.
Well, based on the trailer alone, it looks fantastic. I mean,
Uh,
your input in the trailer, where you mentioned that you kind of became numb to what you were doing after a while.
yes,
Yeah.
very numb to it. It was the same thing every day, you know. And sometimes, people get so caught up in stuff, you just don't realize I don't know, it was just weird. Everything for me, everything just became dark, cold, and I lost myself. I'm a laugh, like to joke around. I didn't do any of that, So it slowly and gradually it takes over you, that evil. Yeah, I will admit I was a big time employee in the enemy's camp.
Yes.
You know, yeah.
But now you can see that, yeah. Now, Adrienne, there are a lot of our viewers, a lot of our supporters, SPC supporters in this country, who would love to see the movie. Do you know if it will be available to UK audiences? Will it be available online?
That is a good question. All I know is it's supposed to be released sometime in June. That's all I know.
Okay. Right. Okay. Well, we look forward to it.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
It should have a profound effect. Yeah. Adrienne, do you think the testimony of former abortion workers like yourself, do you think it's enough to maybe help end legal abortion in our countries, in the UK and in the US?
I believe so. We've closed a little over 50 clinics thus far, so that's the start. I believe it can happen. I trust God. I do. He'll make anything. He can make anything happen. So I believe it will.
Yeah. Now,
It may be a long fight. It may be a long fight, but I believe we'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Adrienne, you now have the benefit of hindsight. You can now look back. What advice would you give to people currently working in the abortion industry?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. This is my thing. For those who are still in the clinic, all I ask is that if you feel trapped, if you feel like, just walk away. Try to find, little by little, try to find a pro-life center, a pregnancy center, a pro-life organization, and just give them a call. I don't want that person that's still in the clinic, I don't want them to go through the mental torture. I did that for you. If things are being done illegally, I don't want you to go to jail. I did that for you. I'm just asking that person, and I would tell them just, trust God. Just take one step. Just trust God. Is that type of stronghold. It's not easy to get out of, and you can't do it by yourself. You can't.
Yeah.
So.
And should they ever leave, please God, many more do. It won't just be divine intervention that they'll have to help them. It will be people like yourself and the testimony of former abortion workers like yourself helping them along, because I've seen you elsewhere. You've described it as sort of like a tribe of sisters.
Yes, we are a tribe of sisters. It's I want to say it's over 750 of us now.
Wow, that is a lot. Gosh.
And we're growing stronger, and we're the numbers are still growing because people are they are walking out.
Yeah,
they are walking out.
Brilliant.
And that's what we want.
Well, Adrienne, thank you for giving up your time, and thank God for your conversion story, and we pray for many more. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Not at all. Thank you, Adrienne.